For over 2,000 years, there's been this one guy who's been called a hero, a villain, a genius, and a clown. He never wrote a single word down, yet his ideas completely changed the world. So what is it about Socrates? What makes him so fascinating? Well, let's dig in and see if we can find out.
Okay, so here's the big problem right off the bat. Everything we think we know about Socrates comes from other people. Our main sources are his best student Plato, a historian named Xenophon, and believe it or not, a famous comedian, Aristophanes. And the crazy part is, when you look at what they wrote, they're not just describing the same guy differently. It feels like they're talking about three completely different human beings.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to treat this like a cold case, probably the oldest cold case in history, and sift through the evidence to figure out who this man really was.
All right, so first things first, let's meet our three key witnesses. Let's hear what they had to say, because each one gives us a totally different picture of the man at the center of this mystery.
Okay, first up we've got Plato and Xenophon. Both of these guys really admired Socrates. Plato paints him as this incredible, noble martyr for the truth. I mean, a total philosophical superhero. But then you've got Xenophon, and his version is, well, it's a lot more down-to-earth. He gives us a practical, religious, law-abiding guy who just teaches simple virtues. So one is this revolutionary thinker, the other is a respectable teacher. Who do you believe?
And just when you think you might be able to find some middle ground, our third witness walks in and just blows the whole thing up. This is from a comedy called The Clouds by Aristophanes, and in it, Socrates is a complete buffoon. He's portrayed as this head-in-the-clouds weirdo who runs a school called The Thinkery, where he teaches kids how to argue their way out of paying their debts. So, was he a joke to people back then?
And this, right here, is what historians call the Socratic problem. Because Socrates himself left nothing behind, we're stuck trying to piece him together from these wildly different accounts. Was he a saint, a sensible teacher, or a total con artist? Trying to find the truth in all this, well, that's the real challenge.
So, with all these conflicting stories, where do we even begin? Well, in any good investigation, you start by looking for common ground. Let's forget what they said about him for a second and focus on what they all seem to agree he did.
Now, we have to get our heads around something important. For the ancient Greeks, philosophy wasn't some boring class you took, it was a way of life. It was about how you acted every single day. For a guy like Socrates, just talking about being brave was pointless if he didn't actually act bravely when it counted.
And on this is where our witnesses actually agree. They all show us a man whose philosophy was in his actions. First, he was a legit war hero, known for being incredibly brave on the battlefield. Then, when he served in the government for literally one day, he stood up alone against the entire assembly to stop something he knew was illegal. And finally, he risked his own neck by refusing a direct order from a bunch of tyrants to arrest an innocent man. The point is, whatever he was saying, he was living it, even when it could have gotten him killed.
And that unwavering commitment to his principles, that refusal to back down, well, it leads us right to the dramatic end of his life, his trial and his execution.
You really have to understand the context here. Athens was a mess. They had just lost a brutal 27-year-long war. The city was taken over by a vicious regime. And even though democracy was back, the city was paranoid, unstable, and desperately looking for someone to blame for everything that went wrong. And Socrates, who had been annoying people and questioning authority for decades, was the perfect scapegoat.
So what did they get him on? The official charges were pretty vague, disrespecting the gods and corrupting the kids of Athens. But really, he was on trial for being a pain. He even called himself a gadfly. You know, that annoying fly that just keeps buzzing around? Athens was tired of being bitten.
So the jury finds him guilty. Then they ask him, "Okay, Socrates, what do you think your punishment should be?" Instead of begging for his life, he says that for all his service to the city, he should get the highest honor they had, free meals for life, a prize they gave to Olympic champions. I mean, the sheer audacity of it. He was basically mocking the whole trial.
Unsurprisingly, the jury did not find it funny. His defiant, almost cocky defense absolutely sealed his fate. They sentenced him to die by drinking a poison called hemlock, and by every account we have, he faced his death with the exact same calm and conviction he'd shown his entire life. So if he was this controversial guy who ended up getting executed by his own city, why on earth are we still talking about him 2,400 years later? The answer is that his real legacy isn't some list of answers. It's a completely new way of thinking. I mean, think about what he gave us. The Socratic method,
this whole idea of finding truth by asking better and better questions, he's the one who hammered home the idea of self-examination, that a life where you don't think about who you are and what you're doing isn't even worth living. He taught us that true wisdom isn't having all the answers, it's realizing how much you don't know. These ideas, they're not just old philosophy, they're the foundation of how we think today.
You know, in the end, maybe that whole Socratic problem isn't a problem we're supposed to solve. Maybe the fact that we can't pin him down, that we can't stick him in a neat little box, maybe that is the point. He doesn't give us answers. He forces us to ask questions. He's not just a person from history. He's a conversation that we're all still having.
He said, the unexamined life is not worth living. And that challenge, it echoes through time. It wasn't just for the people of Athens back then. It's for you, it's for me right now. So I'll just leave you with his question, turned back on you. How examined is your life?